Good evening, boys and ghouls. You have tuned into the Killer Countdown, brought to you by Backlot 605. Each week, two horror fanatics rank the best that the horror genre has to offer. Grab your popcorn and your kitchen knife and get ready for the Killer Countdown.
Welcome to the Killer Countdown. My name is Blake. I am your host for today on our, how many episodes in are we now, Casey?
Right on your sheet, 23.
23 episodes. Tonight we are joined by our very, very good friend and sometimes nemesis of the show, Andrew Heller from Fat Dude Dick Flicks. Andy, how are you doing?
What is up, everybody? It's Andy, the resident fat dude of Fat Dude Dick Flicks. I wanted to do the intro just because I felt like it was time. But I am doing really well. I am super excited to do this show and super excited to be a friend of the show and apparently a nemesis of the show. That's pretty cool. It's fun to be on both sides of the game.
Andy, I was going to say it's been a long time, but we just recorded Wednesday night, so it has not been that long.
like for you and I talking, it hasn't been that long, but it has been a long time since I've been on an episode of the Killer Countdown.
Yes.
Actually, I just realized we haven't recorded this. We record this Wednesday.
Yeah, we've got one coming up.
Yeah.
So it's been about a week. It's been over a week since we've talked to each other.
Yeah, it has been a while. I'm super psyched that I'm not involved. I feel like I would get really too emotionally involved with this topic tonight. So I'm glad that Casey was like, I'm taking Andy down tonight.
Yeah. Can we address that really quickly?
Yes. Yeah. The floor is yours, Andy.
Before we even unveil what the subject is and all of that stuff, I have had to deal with a fair amount of shit talking from your co-host over there, saying that he is going to rule me, he is going to break me, he is going to make sure that nothing I want makes the list. And I thought this was a friendly coalition, a coalition competition type thing. I guess I was.
Well, the name of the show
astray.
is Killer Countdown, not Friendly Countdown.
No, this is the Killer Countdown. This is our horror competition show. Sure, we're making a top 8 list of the best foreign language or foreign horror films, but if you play something I don't like, I'm gonna stab it. I'm gonna get rid of it. And
that's fair.
I'm just gonna let you know I do have a game plan going in.
Oh God!
Because I think I know one of your plays, and I'm sorry, Andy. I know you love the movie. It's just not going to make the list.
All right. Well, we'll see how that goes. We'll see.
My game plan is to just stay out of the way. So
that's why we're recording remotely, because otherwise Andy would be going at it.
That's why I'm not in the room today.
Yeah,
I'd be turning my hat backwards like Stallone and over the top.
Oh man.
Yeah. So tonight's topic is post-2000 international horror films, and the reason why we decided to keep it post-2000 was because there's a lot to watch. There's a lot to get through in so little time, and I think it was your idea, Casey, to do post-2000. You just like saying post-2000.
I just like that word.
Yeah. So we're doing post-2000, and
partially I didn't want to play 4 Italian films with my picks.
Yeah, because immediately you were like, I'm gonna does Giallo count? And I was like, no, it does not. And you're like, well, it comes from Italy, and I'm just like, yeah, but it's not technically in the Italian language. There's a huge debate about that, and so we just decided it was international, which sets up the rule that you guys gave for each other, that only one movie per country is allowed.
Yes.
So if a movie from Brazil is played, another movie from Brazil cannot be played.
What have we done? What have we done?
Again,
we've also added another wrinkle to it. We're not limiting it to the language either.
Yeah.
It is the country of origin / if it does have the foreign.
We're
not limiting it to non-English films.
Much to my chagrin, does not involve language. It involves actual country. Yes. But I'm not playing the game.
There might be some language in this.
It's not my game tonight. So
right.
Mediate.
I was going to say, I want to touch upon that real quick. And I think the reason for that was during this last Academy Awards season, there was a film that received rave critical praise that was from a South African country, and the language of that South African country was English, and because it was in English, it was didn't qualify as a foreign language international film. So, if we run into that, I don't want to have that controversy. I don't want to.
Sure.
I don't want to besmirch the fine name.
There is a movie I watched in here that has multiple scenes where they are speaking English in it, but it is a primarily foreign language movie. I think we would run into a very slippery slope if we went that way.
Yeah, I have one that is an English language film, but it was produced by another country. So if it makes the list, if it fits your approval, cool. If it doesn't, I understand.
I think I know what movie he's talking about.
We will. Well, I will decide when we get to that point.
Awesome.
Before we start our game, which I cannot wait to do, we're going to talk about our recent watches. Yes. Some horror movies that we have watched recently that do not pertain to our list today. Andy, since you are the guest player today, I'm going to let you start. Did you watch anything horror related that is not a part of today's game?
This is going to be real fast. No, I did not.
Perfect.
I really wanted to, and I was like, oh man, I'm going to be super excited to talk about something. Nope. I only watched one movie that I might talk about later. We'll see.
All right.
Interesting.
Casey.
Yes. I have 14 movies that I watched since we last recorded. 9 of those were for this episode, so I won't talk about those.
Oh, now I understand what you were saying earlier.
Yes,
I was like, okay, you said 9. Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
9 for the episode, 5 that were just for me. The first one, Blood Machines, which is a Shudder original film.
Yeah.
Yes. You would love this movie.
Would I?
Yes. It is
it's either a good thing or a bad thing.
No, it's a good thing. You'll love this movie. It is a 50-minute short film that's split into 3 segments, which I don't like the splitting of the segments. I didn't know about that before watching it, but take that part out of it. Just if you can get through it, just skip to the next one as soon as you just hit the button as soon as you can. But this is I don't know. There's not really a plot to it, but basically this extraterrestrial being escapes from this spaceship that she was on, and basically is set loose upon the world, and these 2 bounty hunters, space cadets, set out to try to capture her. But what is really important in this movie is not the plot. It's a very thin plot. Is the visuals and the music in this movie. It's like a 50-minute long music video, and I loved it. What is the guy? Carpenter something? I can't remember his last name.
John Carpenter?
No, not John Carpenter. His first name is Carpenter. Carpenter Brute, I think is what it is. But yeah, he did the score for this movie. The score is tremendous. I do believe it's based on a short film he did that was 5 minutes long, but it's basically a music video.
So he made a short film out of a short film?
Yes, he made a longer short film.
I'm looking forward to the 90-minute version.
Yeah, it's
extended cut.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. The visuals are really good for a low budget film, and yeah, like I said, it's a 50-minute long music video.
Very cool.
The other one I have on here is one Andy would probably love if you watched it.
All right. City
of the Living Dead from Lucio Fulci.
Oh, I'm on board already.
He gave us red eye for it.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of eyeball gore in this one, actually. Have you seen this?
Are you sure it was a Fulci movie?
It was definitely was a Fulci movie.
There was a period of time where I didn't log what movies I watched, and
it was probably in there.
I think I watched this during that period. I remember not being a big
Gates of Hell. Maybe it was the title it was under.
No, I'm pretty sure it was City. But if I remember correctly, it's it doesn't take place in a giant city, but then in terms of sets.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's a shot on a bridge with zombies walking across a bridge at the end. Is that in this movie?
No.
Maybe I didn't watch it then.
Yeah,
is this on Shudder?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is. I believe all 3 of the Gates of Hell trilogy is on Shudder right now. I unknowingly watched them in reverse order because this is the first one. Yeah. Again, it's a Fulci film.
Horror fan you are.
It's not knowing what order to watch them in because they connect so much.
Yeah. Just like the Dollars trilogy.
Yeah. It's exactly what you think it is. It's a Fulci film about zombies. There's some great gore. Once again, There's gore involving power tools, and a drill, which was awesome. Yeah. Andy, I highly recommend you checking this one out.
I'm on board for the horror, the gore with the power tools. That sounds like my kind of thing.
It actually it's pretty good. I don't. Again, maybe a little thin on plot, but that's a Fulci film. Yeah. Quickly, another one I watched was called Jezebel from a few years ago.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, I saw the cover a million times. It's a terrible movie. That's about it. Yeah.
So no glowing.
That is shooting to the top of my watch list.
It should not. It is one of those movies where you see the cover a million times on every streaming service, and finally, I guess we purchased it from Last Stop for some reason. Kayla picked out a movie, and it didn't turn out great, and she didn't like it either. So that way I can poo-poo on it.
Funny aside, my wife and I, we watched Zodiac when it came out on video, and we both really enjoyed it. And then we went to Last Stop one night. This is probably like a decade ago, and she found a video of the Zodiac Killer. And she's like, "Oh, we should watch this. It's like a really good companion." And I we all know. You look at the cover, look at the back, and you're like, "No, this is gonna be bad." She's like, "Well, you don't know. We should just, you have no idea." And so it was only like $4. We bought it. We watched it, and it's one of those movies where you feel like you've watched an hour and it's been 15, 20 minutes.
Oh no,
it was so bad. Yes. And so I look over at my wife, and she's just like, she starts laughing. She's like, "Well, I didn't know." And I'm like, "I told you it was gonna be this bad." So anyway, I know your pain with this.
Yes. Yeah. It was not good. Not good. And then I have two rewatches. Drag Me to Hell was the next one we watched.
Which is, Andy's favorite.
Another
Raimi
one of
movie.
my favorite.
Oh, Andy doesn't like Drag Me to Hell?
Not like Drag
Me to Hell.
I do not.
So this was the point where I was just like, maybe I should unfollow Fat Dude Dicks.
We should kick him off our show right now.
I absolutely love Drag Me to Hell. I think it's an incredible horror movie, but I'm not here to judge other people. So
yes, you are. I can already feel you guys judge me.
First the Beyond, now Drag Me to Hell. What is next, Andy?
I don't know. My 8 picks for best international horror film, I guess.
Oh, I cannot wait.
So Drag Me to Hell, it was sitting on our shelf. I've owned it for years. And Kayla's like, well, it's a good possession or horror film. And I pulled it off the shelf. I'm like, well, we should watch this. She's like, oh, I haven't seen that in a long time. She had no idea it was a Raimi, going full Raimi movie. Man. And it does. I love this movie so much. The first time I watched it, I was like, because I was expecting a full-fledged horror film. And I'm like, what the hell is all this? And then you watch it again going in knowing it's a horror comedy.
And then you're like,
Andy, do you know what Drag Me to Hell's Rotten Tomato score is?
I do not. I'm guessing it's probably high.
It is a 93%.
Well,
this has turned into like a rag on Andy episode.
It's gonna be,
and he's going to just absolutely ruin us.
Yeah, I totally get why someone wouldn't like this movie.
No, me too.
Yeah, I get it. I love it. There's so much ridiculously in this movie. I love every frame of this movie.
Yeah.
I do wish, though, that the lead actress was Alison Lohman. I wish she was doing more because I think she's great.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm with you. I loved her in Matchstick Men as well.
Yeah. So it's I don't know where she kind of disappeared to because she was in.
She got dragged to hell, Andy.
That's it. She got dragged to hell. Can't act ever again.
Andy, may I ask where you're at?
I am currently in. Hold on. Gay Paris.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Every time he moves his arms, it looks like a car speeds by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I wanted to do a background. It's probably really distracting, but I was like,
I love it. I was just
like that international feel.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I thought it was London for some reason. I thought you were in front of Buckingham Palace. So,
ooh, that would have been
which is
classy
far
too.
from Paris. So,
yeah.
Casey, what's your last watch?
And then my last watch is one on your recent watch, Jaws.
Yeah.
Enough said.
Yeah, man. I don't know if I had appreciation for this movie. I think I've only seen the movie fully 3 times. Like I don't know why I watched it as a kid and it really didn't do anything for me. And then I saw it in theaters about 5 years ago. My friend Cody, who was there, I think he wore the Jaws shirt. Maybe he didn't. Okay, so my friend Cody came, and it was his birthday. I bought him a ticket. We went to Jaws, and it's his favorite movie. He can quote the entire movie, act out the entire movie. So, and I liked it more. And then I think it was this time when we all went, where I was like, "Whoa, this is like a masterpiece! Like this is like there's just little things in the movie where you're like, oh, now I see where." Action movie 27 copied this, or this thriller number 3000 copied this little thing, and it's an amazing movie. And I always forget that the last hour is just three guys on a boat, and I think that's just an incredible shift from where the movie is starts maybe going. Yeah, it's great. And all those three guys on the boat singing, and then talking about is it the Indianapolis that they talk about, the sinking ships, like that story that Robert Shaw tells is chilling.
Love it. This is a top, at least if not top 5, top 10 movie of all time for me. Wow. It's one of my favorites. I love Jaws. It's a yearly watch. I watch it every single year.
Damn, you need to get a 4K player and get that 4K because it looks really good.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's for me, it's one of the greatest movies ever made. I love everything about Jaws.
Do you love Jaws 3 though?
Jaws 3 is probably my least favorite out of the 4. Yeah. Jaws 2 rules, and anyone who disagrees on Jaws 2 ruling is wrong.
Jaws 2 is great, not as good as the original, obviously, but I think Jaws 3 is fun, just for the fact that Louis Gossett Jr. gets to say, "You talk about some damn shark's mother." Like, I think that's just an incredible line. Number 4 has Mario Van Peebles in it, whom I love. So
and Michael Caine. Buying a house with it.
Michael Caine actually skipped the Oscars that year. I think he won the Oscar that year, and he skipped it because he was shooting Jaws the Revenge.
Jaws. This doesn't have to be a Jaws talk, but I find Jaws 3 super boring and just really bad. Jaws 4 is so bad it's good.
Oh, that's a different show.
That's it. We'll do our Jaws episode sometime.
Okay. Well,
I can't wait for the bootleg / rip off Jaws 5 when that eventually hits Blu-ray.
Jaws 5.
Yeah, it was. What country is that from? They took scenes from some of the other Jaws movies and cobbled together a Jaws 5. I believe it was from Italy.
Oh, is that
in the 90s?
No, here's my question: is that going to be played today?
Yeah, it's in English, so.
No,
but it's from Italy, right?
Yeah, it's true.
And I believe it was before 2000.
Okay,
I'll look up who that's coming from, but that's my last one. Jaws.
So I was at that. So basically, a little preamble. We rented out a theater, and we all watched Jaws, a bunch of us, and so I was there too. It was a lot of fun. I won't speak more on Jaws. I just gushed about it. The other movie that I watched was a straight-to-video horror movie. And I want to preface, I love straight-to-video horror movies. I love, you can tell they had $2,000 to make movies, and I'm all in. So I watched this movie called High Moon with a buddy of mine, which is about this cowboy from the 1860s or something, who is hunting down this gang. And they're a bunch of outlaws, and it turns out that they're werewolves. So he kills them all, and then because of some curse from some samurai ghost, he has to be put into a not a grave, but a
tomb,
a coffin.
Okay.
And so all these other guys are buried in coffins as well. And then you skip ahead to current times, and they all wake up. And so he has to hunt them all over again. Super low budget, super terrible, super cheesy. Loved the hell out of it. Sean Patrick Flannery, is that his name?
Yeah.
He is a sort of good guy / dick who's banging the hero's wife, but they need him because he's got all the guns and etc. It's a lot of fun. It's one of those movies where they really put in the gun effects afterwards, and the blood's digital and things like that. And it's really poorly made, but I have a soft spot in my heart for these movies, and it goes back probably 15 years for my friend and I. We would binge these over. Our Friday nights were like 3 to 4 to 5 of these movies in a row. Like Evil Bong and Ginger Dead Man, just stuff like that. So we watched this, had a lot of fun. Sorry that I couldn't bring another masterpiece to the table, but
it sounds like a masterpiece.
That's my recent watches.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what we're ending it with.
Yeah.
Not Jaws.
High Moon.
Moon.
It's a 3 out of 5 for me. So
wow. I think I saw it on your letterbox, and then I went through the other reviews. You were probably the nicest person that has ever seen this movie.
Oh well, yeah. The thing is, when I say 3 stars, but I'm not comparing it to Goodfellas. I'm not comparing it to Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's being compared to Evil Bong, and
it's a relative rating, is what it is.
Yeah. Well, are you guys ready to do this?
Let's do it.
All right.
Do it.
So,
do it.
We're playing Post-2000's. Is that Ben Stiller from whatever movie?
Starsky. Is it
Starsky?
Right?
Do it.
We're doing Post-2000 slashers. No, I'm just kidding. Post-2000 best international features. We're going to pick the top 8. You both are getting 4 picks. I have a trivia question. So whoever gets it right first gets to go first, or gets to choose the order. Sorry, the first person is going to go 8. Is going to pick spots 8, 6, 4, and 2, and the other person is going to pick spots 7, 5, 3, and 1.
Yes.
You both get 1 stab in the game, and but what that means is if Andy plays a movie that Casey doesn't like, or or if he doesn't like the movie at that certain spot, he can stab it off the list. Movie is not gone for good. It can come back, as I just said. The same goes for Andy. If Andy doesn't like a movie that you play, he can stab it off the list. You each get 1. Once you use it, it's gone. Is that everything? We covered it all? Am I good on that?
Yes, sir.
I think that sounds right.
You guys ready for my trivia question? We're just going to do...
Who want us to blurt it out?
Yes, whoever blurts it out first.
Okay.
All right.
And keep in mind, I only have 2 questions, so one of you better get one of these right. Otherwise, we have to flip a coin or something. All right,
no
you guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay. George Sluzier directed the 1988 classic The Vanishing, but who directed the American remake?
Steven Soderbergh.
I'm guessing that's not right, so...
Yeah, Andy, you're wrong.
Okay. The Hidden. Got it. Yep.
I have no idea. I don't even have a guess.
He directed the remake. George Sluzier directed the remake.
Oh.
He directed his own remake.
Well, good.
I should have guessed that after last night's trivia where you asked a very similar question.
Yes. Okay. Next question. The movie Antichrist features what kind of talking animal?
A fox?
That is correct.
Good job, Andy. I've never seen the movie.
Andy, you get to choose where you're playing. Do you want the evens or do you want the odds? Do you want the top spot?
This is very difficult because I do trust you, Casey, when it comes to the number 1 movie. I feel like okay, then I'm going to take that.
I'm kidding.
I'll be honest, I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
It is actually a tough situation. It's like, do you either want to set the tone with the number 8 or do you want to have that top spot?
Yeah. Because like if I take the evens and I get the number 8, that means I can throw in one that I'm like, listen, this is a fun one that I want on the list, whether it's amazing or not.
Technically, you can do that at number 7 too if you wanted to. Just remember, once you get to 6, it starts to get a little serious.
That's true. You know what? We're gonna do this. I want number 1.
Oh.
All right.
There's a lot of pressure because what if Casey?
If Casey takes the one that I want. Oh no, I could stab it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm fine. I'm fine with that.
So Casey, you're going to hand me your cards.
Yes.
And Andy, you're going to message me personally, and I'll read your pick.
Yes.
So
yes.
Whenever you're ready, Casey.
Hand it to you.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. I think I am ready for this.
Oh, and just so you know, what I'm going to do, because it's fun for me, is if you pick something that I had written down, I'm going to hold up that card just to show you that I think you're awesome.
Perfect. I'm guessing Andy will never hold up a card this entire game.
Probably not.
All right. With the number 8 pick in the post-2000 international horror films killer countdown, Casey has picked Train to Busan from South Korea.
Yes, Train to Busan.
ECB?
No, I can't, but I'm guessing he had it in his hand. Yeah, there it is. Train to Busan. Maybe the best zombie movie post-2000. Right up there. It's towards the top.
I strongly disagree, but that
I know which ones you're talking about, and we have discussed them. Yes, I do like this more than those.
It's a great movie, for the record. I love this movie. I can't wait for Peninsula.
Yes, and again, I love that we're getting a franchise out of this. So basically, Train to Busan is a South Korean film, and it is about it's a father and son that are trapped on this train during the zombie apocalypse, and all hell breaks loose. I mean, there's not a whole lot of plot that you can get into further than that without spoiling plot details. But what really works for me is the zombie effects, and the zombies are great in this movie. I love the Romero zombies, and I do to extent like The Walking Dead or the 28 zombies. And this is kind of a good in between. They're definitely faster than the Romero ones. But what really works for me is that there's character development in this movie, and what makes great zombie movies great is that you love the characters. And there's at least 3 or 4 characters that you just love in this movie, and you care about what happens to them. And really at the heart is the family dynamic in the movie, and that's what really works for me, and that's what really made it stand out amongst the rest of the zombie movies that we've gotten. And I feel like every year kind of has, it's like, are zombies dead? Are zombies dead? But are zombie movies dead? Are they done for? Are we sick of them as a public? And then a movie comes out. It feels like every year a zombie movie comes out where you're like, no, they're not dead. Someone else has something to say within the subgenre. And this was that one for that year, 2016, Train to Busan.
Andy?
I love this movie. I think part of what makes this movie so strong, aside from all of the horror elements really working, there is an emotional connectivity to this piece. You genuinely care about the characters, and you genuinely care about the relationship between our 2 central characters. And I was so surprised when I watched this movie just how into it I was. It is actually a topic of conversation between my girlfriend and I quite frequently, because she keeps asking me how I have not given this one an avocado, and why I'm comfortable with this one being 5 tacos instead of being a golden avocado, because she loves this movie. So Train to Busan is fantastic. This is a good pick. It's one that I even may have lobbied to put a little higher, but it's on the list, so I'm okay with that.
Yes.
Very cool. I've only seen this movie once, but I loved it as well. I remember it being very intense. I don't think the movie ever really stops. I know they're on the train, but there's parts where they make stops at other stations, and there's little things where they got to race back to the train, and I remember being completely involved for the 2-hour runtime, where it just felt like nothing ever slowed down. You couldn't catch your breath, and you
felt like you were the characters. You can't stop.
I really love this movie. Very cool.
And again, just full disclosure, I don't have a definitive number 1 for this. All of these I think are very great in their own right. Mm-hmm. Especially since we're doing 20 years and only 8 movies. We're taking on a big feat doing this.
Yeah, and only 1 per country makes it extremely challenging, because I feel like you can kind of break the show into different subgenres. So, yeah.
And I think we took out maybe the biggest country of the last at least 10, 20, of the last 20 years probably for foreign
I would
films.
say Japan's probably a bigger one personally, but I don't. For me, South Korea really nailed it.
Well, I think Japan and South Korea are the two big
For me,
ones.
South Korea really did the thrillers like like Old Boy, Miss Sympathy, like all the Chan-wook Park movies, and then of course Bong Joon-ho, and then like Andy, have you seen The Chaser by chance?
I have not seen The Chaser.
Oh,
it is on my list. I'm really excited to check.
My Lord, you need to see that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I for me personally, like South Korea hasn't done the horror stuff. But like they've still been like the beacon of international cinema for me for a long time now.
Yeah.
All right, Andy, you are up at number 7.
All right. So
I'm super excited to see what Andy plays.
This is slot number 7. So this is my if it makes the list, cool. But I understand if it doesn't. Here we go.
It better be better than Train to Busan.
It's tricky.
Oh, Andy, is this a joke?
No, this is not a joke. I will defend this movie to the bitter end. But if you are not okay with it, because I will explain.
I'm not playing the game. I'm not playing.
No.
All right. In the 7th spot, from the Netherlands, Andy has chosen The Human Centipede.
You are damn right. Okay, so first off, this is a movie that is in English, so I can understand that maybe it doesn't quite fit the qualifications here, but it is from the Netherlands, so I'm going to take a second to defend it. If you don't feel as though it fits within the rules, hey, I get it. So here we go. The Human Centipede, to me, is the greatest of the modern mad scientist movies. You are taking a throwback to a classic genre that includes stuff like Frankenstein, and you are putting this weird, super bizarre, extreme horror twist to it. I think there is so much here that maybe this movie isn't on its face the scariest movie, but I would say the concept behind it of being attached to another human being through bizarre surgical methods, that's terrifying. I love this movie, and I know that this movie is considered a punchline or a meme more than anything else by most people, but I feel like if you watch this movie from a kind of a horror appreciation standpoint, you really will get a lot out of it. I unironically adore this movie for everything about it. I think you're getting a crazy central performance from Dieter Laser. Tom Six is the director. Dieter Laser, who just recently passed away as this intense, psychopathic German scientist genius who gets the notion after experimenting on animals to attach human beings together, ass to mouth, to create a large a centipede type creation.
First time you've ever had ass to mouth on the Killer Countdown.
Yeah. Well, let's let that be the only time you guys have ass to mouth on the humans.
Wait till our next
Killer
episode.
Countdown. But the sequels are trash. Like the other 2 sequels to this film, I think they're absolute garbage. They push the envelope without actually telling a story, and I feel like with this one is really trying to tell a scary, mad scientist story. So I love this movie. Again, it is in English, so hey, if you want to throw it out.
Well, the rule states it's got to be from a different country.
That's
so it doesn't matter what I like or want. I just want to catch people up who have just joined us. Andy Heller said Drag Me to Hell is not good, and The Human Centipede is great.
Oh.
Yep.
Casey,
No shame.
Have you seen this movie?
Yes, I have. I didn't like it. I respect it, though. I respect this movie. I get what it's going for. Much like what I would compare it to is even like on the American side is our torture porn movies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't like those movies. I respect them and I get it. They're just not the horror films I gravitate towards, and I get it. But as far as like the semantics go, yes, this counts as far as what we have set up beforehand. And I'm fine with it being Andy's fun pick here. Yes. Because it was on I didn't write it down. I was not going to play this. And I knew Andy did like The Human Centipede, so I probably should have expected it maybe to be at least brought up in this, but At number 7, I think we are okay having it on the list.
Andy taking full advantage of the lower spot.
Yeah, things get a little more serious from here on out, but I just wanted to, it's fun to include a wild card on the list.
Yeah, this movie is nuts. And the sequel is even more. I've only seen the second one, which I think it's in black and white.
Yeah.
And I thought it was, I wanted to throw up when I was watching it. This movie is fun, I guess. I mean, it feels...
It's wild.
It feels like the whole thing is like, it's called the Human Centipede. There's no way this guy doesn't succeed, right? I mean, so it feels a little anticlimactic, although it's fascinating to watch someone take a dump in someone else's mouth, I guess. I don't know. It's super weird. I've only seen it one time. I don't think I need to watch it again. Little trivia. I just watched a movie last night, an old German movie that Dieter Laser is in as a young man. So that was kind of cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And we'll talk about that one on Wednesday's show, Andy.
Ooh,
so
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah,
cool.
you know what I'm talking about. I messaged you last night about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's quite the turn of event there on our it's spot number 7.
Yeah.
So Casey, whenever you're ready, I'm ready.
I think we got to bring this back.
Oh, no.
Have we lost
All
him?
right. No, I'm still here.
He's here.
Oh, okay.
I had to stand up and stretch, and I didn't want you to maybe get a Johnson shot there. So.
Sure. No, I'm all for that. So
He was getting tied up.
2020. All right. I feel the game is really going to take a twist here with the movie that Casey just handed me.
I think this is going to this is the breaking point here
I think so.
for the rest of where the game is
This
going.
determines the rest of the game.
I think so.
Okay. Is this the right year, 2002? 2002, from Japan, Casey has picked Ju-on the Grudge. Casey.
Yes, The Grudge. Maybe the scariest movie I have in my personal stack.
It's a scary movie.
It is a very scary movie. Yeah, I've seen the two, The Grudge 1 and 2, the American versions, and then I watched the recent remake, but I have never gone back to the Japanese originals until now. And yes, this is the best of them all. This is the scariest of them all. The imagery in this movie is just nightmare fuel. I don't deal with people with like the classic, I don't know what it's called in Japan, but the girls that have the hair in front of their eyes. The Ring gets that. This has some of that too. I don't like it. It scares me. Girls crawling scare me. Anything crawling scares me. And so this has quite a bit of that. Again, what I loved about watching Ju-on the Grudge is I felt like each segment had its own unique and terrifying scary sequence that was never a cheap jump scare. It was always earned. I felt every scare fit the story it was telling at that point, and I genuinely had goosebumps watching some of the sequences. And like I said, there's some great jump scares in this movie, including the little boy is just terrifying, and he scares the life out of me. And there's a scene like towards the end of the movie where like they're in a restaurant and you hear like the sound of like the Grudge, and like the lady looks under the thing and the boy's just sitting there. I'm like, oh my God. And I don't get scared very often anymore, but this movie actually got under my skin and actually scared me. So again, we're entering probably one of the top 2 foreign countries, and I think this is a classic that we got to have on this list.
Okay, I have Andy. What do you think about this?
So if there was a country that I was wrestling with a selection, Japan would have been that country. I had a movie on my list that I really wanted to get a chance to watch before we did this countdown, but I did not get to that one, so I couldn't include it. I have my own personal favorite from Japan that kind of fits into this era, but even though that's my personal favorite, This was the one that I was going to as a representation of Japanese horror.
Yeah.
I am shocked, Andy. When this game was announced, I was like, "There's one movie Andy is going to gun for to get as high as he can," and I'm shocked that you're going to let it slide. Not only once, this is the second time that you've not been able to play this movie on a killer countdown.
Yeah, listen, everybody in the world knows how much I love Audition by Takashi Miike. I just think that movie is so good. But if we're trying to really assemble a list that is a collection of like the ultimate international horror films, I think that Ju-on, The Grudge, would be one that would be more inclined to really be your traditional horror film that will really woo people over and really get them on board. Don't worry, I will throw in another wrench onto this list that I think is
Human Centipede 2.
No less scary, more interesting. But I think this is a good pick. I can't argue with this one at all. I did have Audition written down just in case, but I was like, I got a feeling that everybody knows that, so just kind of put that one off to the side just to see what happens. But no, I think this is a terrifying movie. I think the fact that this movie or the fact that they keep trying to remake this movie and kind of Americanize this film is just a testament to how strong the original Japanese film is. So no, that's
the exact same phrase I was going to use, because I have seen it. I've seen the American versions. I've seen it parodied a million times, and yet now, almost 20 years later, me watching this movie for the first time, and I'm still scared. That's a testament to how good this movie is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do we like the Sarah Michelle Gellar version of this movie?
It's fine.
It's fine.
I saw it in theaters at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
A friend of mine was a manager of a theater, and we went in like 3 a.m. to watch this, and the roof was leaking. It was raining out. So we were watching The Grudge in theaters. And there was water leaking behind us. So we felt like we were in the movie.
Yeah. The 2020 version is god awful. It's a horrible movie. It's a horrible movie.
I will not be rushing to see that one.
No.
All right. Number 6, Ju-on, The Grudge. Number 5.
I'm feeling good about this list.
Yeah.
As much as I was trash talking Andy, it was all in good fun.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Well,
I think I got my the two ones I was worried about, because I don't feel like there's a definitive one for other countries. It was these two. I was like, is Andy going to be leaning towards something else from South Korea or something else from Japan? So I'm glad we got these.
I will tell you what Andy is leaning into. He's leaning into the pain on this next one. Andy is going with the country France on this one, and it is the brutal Martyrs.
Okay. Again, I have this. I feel like it's a little unknown thing about me that I really enjoy these brutal, like gory kind of horror films that still try and tell a good story, like at their core. It's not like they're brutal. They're brutal for brutality's sake, but I think they're trying to tell this story as well. And for me, the entries of extreme French cinema, that was another one. I just talked about how the Japanese films are ones that I really had a hard time trying to pick which one to go with. This was another genre that I feel like you could do a countdown on the best French extreme horror films, because there are just some. One of them I watched today, which was Inside, which is also
arguably more brutal than this one.
Yep.
And this one's pretty bad too.
Yeah. So the concept of I'm just going to go with Martyrs as the title.
That's fine.
The concept of Martyrs is that this girl who was kidnapped as a child and kind of raised in this like extreme kind of cult type living, escapes, and she plots her revenge against the people who kidnapped her. And I think she's also trying to free somebody who is still kind of caught up, or is it the two girls together? I can't quite recall.
I thought one of them was sort of like a spirit.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Like it was someone like just like telling her what to do, and her mind was so fractured. But the interesting thing is like the movie opens, not to steal your thunder, Andy, but the movie opens and you don't know any of this.
Right.
So tell Casey about the opening scene of this movie.
Yeah. So
the opening scene, nuts.
Yeah, so it is just this, it's like a family sits down to have breakfast together. Everybody's super happy. It's just, oh, the birds are singing. Mama's pouring some orange juice. Oh, they crack the yolk on that egg and it just bleeds so perfectly onto the toast. And then there's a knock at the door and it's a girl with a shotgun who just blows the shit out of everyone in the family. And you just kind of, it kind of unfolds from there that it's just this story of revenge and like religious fervor and just absolute brutality. There's something about horror films that deal with religion that really they have a way to get under your skin like no other.
Yeah, and it's what this one's trying to do. What to tell the audience too. That it's just, and when what happens at the end with this girl is just. Oh my God! It's a marathon of endurance that you have to put up with for the last I would say 30 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, that final sequence. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't had a chance to see this one, but it really is that. It is so. You feel it, like you sit there and you feel everything that is happening in a way that I can't really put words to, and it's just this. Yeah, like it is intense. It is an intense, brutal film, but I think it's one that is super successful in doing everything it sets out to do, and is just really well constructed. I think it's a really oddly beautiful film. It's very ugly at what it's doing, but just the way that it's shot is remarkable. Martyrs is something that I feel very fortunate that I was able to find. It's one that I really have a hard time like telling people, hey, you should watch this unless you like these kind of horror films. But yeah, I adore this movie and I wanted to make sure I got it on the list. I think there are other ones that I think are better, including one that will probably get kicked off the list if I say it, but I will still try. But yeah, I really love this movie.
Yeah, I would say it's the best of the French extreme horror movies.
Yeah, it's the trademark. I feel like this is the one that people know and kind of go back to. This and probably Inside as well. That was one that I was surprised that I hadn't seen before.
Yeah, that movie is insane. Oh my God.
I feel bad for. I would not recommend it to someone who is like with child, because
or who has lost a child.
Yeah.
Or who has a child, actually.
yeah. If you're a parent, don't watch it either. But
are you letting this stand, Casey?
I will let it stand. The French movies, I had a couple on my list, and I'm not like 100% on them where they had to make the list. And I'm glad Andy got the French film because I was kind of leaning towards that in this. This is on my watch list. I believe awesome. I texted you to ask you if you own this because it's very hard.
You did.
Very hard to find online.
You did.
Have you found it yet?
What's that?
Have you found it yet? Because I have the Blu-ray of it. If you haven't,
I have not. This and Inside were two that I'm like I need to watch before this, and neither one is readily available online. So it was very hard to watch these. But yes, this has been on my watch list forever.
It's good. I wouldn't say you're going to enjoy it.
I'm fine with that.
Right. I remember and I feel like the pacing of the last 30 minutes is deliberately slowed down, and you just sit in this room with this girl, and the things that she goes through and where she ends up, you're just drained by the end of it. And it's one of those movies like I was like, oh, I want to see that again, and I've just not been able to go back to watch it yet. It's pretty tough, but I'm excited. And like I said, I think this is the best one out of the French extreme. I mean, like, I think the easy one is probably Haute Tension that people would really love, which I think is fine.
I get very upset with that movie just for the ending reasons. But
So I listened to an interview with Alexander Aja, and he said that he wanted that to happen halfway through the movie, and the studio forced him to put it at the end. He doesn't like the way it ends. He wants that thing to happen halfway through the movie, and then you kind of like learn more. So I don't really blame him for that terrible ending, but what comes before it is pretty intense. So
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it was a movie that I was fully on board with until it got to the ending. And
yeah, I think that's the general consensus with that movie.
Yeah.
All right, number 5, we have Martyrs. Casey, are you ready with number 4?
Number 4. We each got 2 picks left. I think I'm ready. This one was not going to make the list until I rewatched it for this episode. So, yeah.
All right. Number 4. I have not seen the movie yet. Casey is picking. I think Andy's going to like this one.
I hope so.
I think he's going to like this
one.
I hope so. From Iran, Casey is picking A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night.
Yeah.
Andy's holding the card up.
Like I said,
I'm going to just write this one down now because I'm pretty sure it's going to stay on the list.
This was not going to make the list until I rewatched it. And what happened was, one of the nights where I was prepping for this, I was like, I just need to throw something on. And I'm like, I haven't watched this since it came out. What year was this? 2014? I haven't watched it since then. And I'm like, I'll just watch the first 30 minutes again. And then I just sat and watched the entire movie. This movie just entranced me into it. It feels like a dream, like you're watching this movie. It is an Iranian film, and it is about this town that is just filled with vile and scum and evil, and you just feel that throughout the movie. And it is about this girl who is a vampire and basically takes out the bad people in this town. And what really stood out to me this time, one, the score for this movie is incredible. The score goes it fits so well for the tone of the movie, but
the score or the soundtrack?
This both.
Okay.
I mean, the score itself is great, but it does have a great soundtrack as well. But the score, it fits so perfectly. Sometimes it's just like this, like almost like a synth score, and then other scenes it's a Western score, and it just fits very well with the tone that they're going for. All shot in black and white, and that itself gets a 1-star rating up for me. Whenever a horror movie is in black and white, I just love the aesthetic of that, and it fits perfectly with this. And I didn't realize it till this time because I hadn't seen the movie I'm about to reference, but it has a lot of parallels and both visually and thematically to the Universal film Dracula's Daughter. One, it's a vampire film, and two, the main actress looks like the actress that played Dracula's daughter, even so much with the veil over her head, much like Dracula's daughter has in that film. And it feels like if you did a double bill with these two movies, it would play fantastically together. And maybe in another movie we'll talk about, but I feel vampire movies can really fill a lot of stories you're trying to tell. And I think that's one thing, especially now when we get into the top 4, there's certain things where these might not be scary, because I don't find this movie scary at all. But the reason it makes the list, it's about vampires and what that can represent and what it goes for. And again, the ending of this film, I love the final shot. In a way, it feels like the final shot of The Graduate to me.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's how it feels to me. So, but yeah, that's my pick. A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night.
Yeah. Excellent pick. I love this movie. It was on my, I wrote the thing up just so that it could go somewhere on the list. And I think kind of here in the middle is the perfect spot for it because it is fantastic. I think there are other horror movies, of course, that are a little bit better than this, but I do think that this is one that really needs to be recognized for just how good it is. I think it's beautiful. Like, I just think this is another beautiful, beautiful movie. And I think there is a lot of talent there from the filmmaker. Is it Lily Amanpour? Is that her name?
That sounds right.
Yeah, I think she has a skill set there that is just waiting to be unleashed upon the world. I don't know that her follow-up film was as successful. I haven't had a chance to see The Bad Batch yet.
I haven't either.
But I just think she is someone to watch, and I think that what this movie is doing is just it's haunting. It's not scary, but it just has that kind of haunting feel to it throughout the whole thing.
And there's these
I really enjoy this
massive wide shots in this movie, and the way it uses shadows in those is very just chilling. It feels like a nightmare that you're inside of.
I just want to piggyback off something you said. I think the soundtrack is amazing. Like maybe one of the best of the decade.
So you've seen this?
Oh, I've seen this.
Oh, I thought you said you hadn't seen it.
No, I've seen this.
Okay.
I didn't see it coming, I guess.
Okay.
I don't love it as much as you guys do. I think the movie is fine. I think the last half a little bit loses me a little bit, but there are tremendous sequences in this movie. There's one sequence where the girl and the guy are in like her apartment or something.
I think I know what scene you're talking
about. And
about.
The name of the song that's playing is called Death. And it's this like really, really cool like rock song. And the song sort of builds and builds and builds. And like
it's the scene where he's behind her and
is
it that scene?
I think they're getting closer to kissing or something. And like he just has no idea who she is. And the way the music is building and the way they're getting closer and closer, and you're like, is she gonna bite him? Like, and like you have no idea. And like the way that movie, like the way Amirpour holds the tension in the sequence where like you don't know if they're gonna kiss or embrace or if she's gonna bite him or what. And like I just think it's an incredible one of my favorite scenes of the entire decade. I think it's such a I need to watch it again. Criterion Channel had this up for a few months, and I should have rewatched it. And I never did, and they took it down. But I'm eager to rewatch this one, and I'm excited to see it here.
Yeah, I rewatched it on Shudder, and yeah, like I said, I was probably in the same boat where I didn't love it, but I really liked it the first time, and now watching it this time, I'm like, I love this.
It's a really cool movie.
Yes.
Yeah. Little trivia: it was shot entirely in California.
Yeah.
So, very cool. A girl walks home alone at night, which brings us to the top 3. There's a lot of movies.
There are a lot of movies.
There's a lot of movies that are not going to make this list.
Well,
there might be some countries that might not make this list that I'm afraid of at this point.
So I am just waiting for Andy now.
All right. So I'm sending this. Now I hope. Okay. I'm just gonna send it, and I'll talk about it in a minute here.
Okay.
I'm a little nervous. I'm
not surprised by this pick, and I'm surprised I didn't pick it in my predictions list. From Mexico, Andy has chosen Guillermo del Toro's The Devil's Backbone.
This is an exceptional ghost story. I love this movie, and I want to clarify too that this movie on IMDb is listed as from Mexico, if that's a spoiler for another movie that is also in this language that I think deserves recognition. But this is this movie is just it's no doubt, it's not anything that comes into question that I am a sucker for stories, and for stories that have this emotional through line to them. And I really enjoy that at the heart of The Devil's Backbone is this ghost story about a child who was murdered. And it's almost this mystery of trying to help everyone else solve who killed this kid. The film is set in a small village. We'll just go with a small village, and there's like I believe it's another military figure who is kind of responsible for the death of this child. And just the way everything unfolds, I think this movie is astounding. Like there was a Guillermo del Toro exhibit in Minneapolis like several years ago at the art museum there, and it tours everywhere from time to time. And being able to see the child, like a figure of the child there, was just amazing. I'm a huge Guillermo del Toro fan, just in general, and I think that this is one of his earlier works that is often goes untalked about, or not talked about as much as I think it should. It's in the Criterion Collection, which
That's how I watched it. I have the Criterion of this.
Hey, nice. Yeah. I think this movie is wonderful, and it's, again, it may not be jaw-droppingly scary, but I think it is doing a really marvelous job of trying to tell a ghost story, and it borrows all of those elements of classic horror and just great storytelling in general to really let this thing unfold. I think this one is a real piece of art, and it's one that I certainly wanted to include on this list, and I'm glad that I was able, for now at least, to put it higher on the list.
Yeah, I love this movie too. It has been sitting on my shelf for a very long time, and I'm glad we get to do stuff like this where I can take these movies off my shelf or off my watch list and finally just put them to the forefront of the watch list and get them on and watched. And I love The Devil's Backbone. I love the ghost story Guillermo tells. Guillermo is just one of my favorite directors that's working today.
Yeah.
And yes, this is Again, I would say this is another one of, if not one of his greatest, if not his greatest. And again, there might be another one. Maybe we can talk about. I don't know. I think we're on a slippery slope as to where another one might fall. We'll see. But I love The Devil's Backbone. I love just how Guillermo uses what a ghost is and what a ghost can represent, and only he could. I've never thought of a ghost in that way, like the way he uses ghosts in this movie, and how many different things it can really represent. And I love that we have a voice like that in horror working right now.
It's nice that the ghost isn't necessarily there to be this weapon of horror or terror. It's someone who is trying to reveal the truth and kind of haunt this area of this happened to me and I need my story to get out. So help me tell this story.
And again, what Guillermo does so well is his monsters are not the monsters in this movie. The monsters are human beings. They're people. They're shitty people, but they're people. And they're the bad guys in this movie. And I don't know the actor's name. This guy just reminded me of Eli Roth for something. He looks like Eli Roth, especially in Inglourious Bastards. That's what he looks like. And with that, I mean, the guy had a punchable face, and I think that really I'm not saying Eli Roth has a punchable face, but that
except
really,
maybe he
got a
does.
punchable personality.
Well, the guy does like Cannibal Holocaust. But I really love The Devil's Backbone. I'm gonna leave it here because I want to see how the rest of the game plays out, because I do love this movie, and if we can, we'll figure out when we get to number one what Andy plays there. But I'm cool with The Devil's Backbone, and Del Toro has to be on this list somewhere. Period. It's not a complete list without him on it. So we have to have one on here.
All right, and number 3, The Devil's Backbone. I think it's probably one of his best movies. Yeah. I think I like The Shape of Water more, but not eligible.
I have probably 3 or 4 of Del Toro's. I'm I love all of them. Equally.
Masters, they would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, Andy, you have one pick. Oh no, this is Casey's.
No, this is Casey.
I'm so sorry.
I've got number 1. So
I apologize, Andy. I did not mean to take your number 1 spot from you.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so Andy did this earlier, and I'm gonna do the same with this pick.
Oh my god!
Different country of origin, English language.
Oh, okay.
A movie that I predicted would make this list.
Anyone who knows me should probably have predicted it makes this list.
From Australia, The Babadook.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
I don't know why. I don't know why I thought you hated this movie.
That's me.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, okay.
I love The Babadook. This is one of my favorite. This is my. I don't remember. We talked about it, so it's written down somewhere on my best of the decade. It might have been my number 2.
I'll look
after It Follows. And yes, I love this movie. Looking back at since all 3 of us took part in this best of the decade. When both of you were the ones that stabbed my number 3 spot, retroactively, I'm like, I should have played the Babadook because I love this movie. And this was when this movie came out, and I know you guys have felt this before as being movie fans. I felt like I discovered something that no one else had seen in my friend group at that point.
Yeah.
Because people would come up to me and they knew I was into horror movies. And they would ask me, what's a good horror movie to watch that's on Netflix or whatever? And I would always say, The Babadook. You got to watch The Babadook. I'm like, you get over the bratty little kid in this movie, but it's great. And every person that I recommended to was, I hated that movie. It was not scary. I'm like, I'm not your friend anymore. I'm moving on.
And this will be my last show.
Yes.
So nice to see you guys.
But again, we talked about this with The Devil's Backbone. It's what a monster represents in this movie. I think the character design of the monster is fantastic. I'm legitimately scared of some of the scenes in this movie. And basically, I should probably explain what the plot is a little bit. It's about this single mom and her annoying little child, and they get sent this book called The Babadook, and it has very sometimes graphic images in it, and the mom has to just get rid of it at any cost. She burns it at one point and throws it in the garbage. It always ends up back to them. And so she tries to uncover what is the Babadook, what is this monster that her son believes he's seeing, and eventually overtakes her. And I love that the Babadook, is it a spoiler if I say what the Babadook is? Would you say? I don't want to spoil it for anyone who's never watched the Babadook.
I don't think so.
No?
I don't know. I don't know, because it's the movie
And
doesn't feel like it has a lot of
twists
twists and
doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the wife lost her husband, and the Babadook is about grief and how that can overcome you and overtake you, and if you let it do that, it's a monster to your body and to your soul, and that's why I love this movie. I love the Babadook. It is one of my favorite horror movies the last decade. When we came up with this list, this was the first one I wrote down. I know what it is in English language, but it is a very Australian movie. And yes, this is number 1 in my heart, number 2 on our list.
This was my number 2, but I took the title and put it off to the side because I was really convinced for some reason, Casey, that you hated this one. I must have gotten you two confused completely because, yeah, I was like, oh, this one's gonna get stabbed. Like, I know this one's gonna get stabbed. So do I play it and get stabbed, or do I just put it off to the side, not worry about it? No, the first time I ever saw this movie, I borrowed it from the internet in a way that you shouldn't. Don't do it. And I put it on a hard drive and took it to work. And I watched it with one of my coworkers, and we just loved this movie. And so I instantly, as soon as it became available to purchase, I bought it. I bought the one with the red slipcover. I think it's great. This is another one that it's emotional connectivity. It's telling a haunting story, and there is definitely fear involved, but at the center of the story is dealing with grief and how that affects you. And grief is not all just about sadness. Grief can be rage. Grief can be, depression. Grief can be so many different things. Just trying to hide away from accepting that you've had to go through a traumatic experience. And this movie puts a face to that grief where they are, very dealing with grief head on. And I think it's just super. Like, it's just a truly profound movie that is excellent storytelling. And yeah, I've dealt a lot with people too who certainly don't think it's a scary movie. And I don't know if I'd go so far as to say that it is a scary movie, but its themes are certainly part of the horror genre that the horror has been telling for all of these years. And for me, it works perfectly. Yeah, I love this movie. Really glad to see it on the list, and super excited that it was where I had it originally. So.
Awesome. We say it's not scary, but there is at least 2 scenes I can think of that just get under my skin.
Oh, yeah.
There's one where she's looking through her window, in the kitchen, and she sees into her neighbor's window, and the Babadook is in there. I'm like, nope, no. And anytime the Babadook like extends his arms, I don't do like long fingernails. That terrifies me. So he has those, and I love the creature design in this movie.
Yeah.
William Friedkin said this was the scariest movie ever made.
He made the scariest movie ever made.
He did make the scariest movie ever made.
Wow, the Babadook at number 2. I thought this was going number 1.
I mean, if I ended up with the number 1, I think I would have played it there.
Yeah. I'm sure
I am nervous, to say the least.
Babadook.
Are you nervous? Are you nervous about what number 1 is?
I have no idea what you're going to play.
Andy,
really?
I'm with Casey. I have no idea what you're going to play either.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
I have it.
All right.
Andy, you just chose the movie Casey was wrapping up as I walked into the house.
Oh.
From Sweden, Let the Right One In.
This is, for me, this isn't just one of the greatest horror movies of the last 20 years. I definitely think this is one of the best movies of the last 20 years. I adore, hey, look at it. There it is.
Yeah.
I just adore everything about this movie. And it also benefits that it has an American remake that doesn't suck. Like, it just enhances the whole world of the story. The basic story here is that there is this kind of loner, loser type kid, doesn't have a friend in the world, and somehow this vampire and her familiar, she's a child vampire, she's stuck in child form, move in next to him at this apartment complex. And they end up having this bond of just kind of loneliness and dealing with the world and everything about it. It's beautiful. Like, it's another just beautiful. It's so weird that this is a horror countdown, and aside from the Human Centipede and Martyrs, I feel like beautiful is the word. Even Martyrs, I use the word beautiful to describe.
The Human Centipede is beautiful, and
the Human Centipede's beautiful.
In some eyes.
Yeah, this is just a heck of a story, just a heck of a movie. I think it's really well written. The characters are ones that you care about. I think that it's another one with fantastic cinematography. There are some sequences here that, again, while it might not be considered super scary, there are scenes in this movie that really get under your skin. I would say the swimming pool scene especially is one that you cheer and cringe from. It's a brilliant payoff to the relationship that the characters have created over the course of this movie. I can't remember what year this movie came out, but I feel like it really set
2008.
2008.
I wrote it down on mine.
Yeah, it really set kind of a precedence for what we could expect in this new era of horror movies and what horror movies were trying to say. This was the first one I wrote down when we came up with this topic.
Mm-hmm.
This was the one for me that I was like, I will do whatever I can to try and make this number 1, because I adore this movie completely. So yeah, Let the Right One In.
There was a reason we pushed back this episode a half hour to record. It was so I could finish Let the Right One In. And yes, Blake walked in about 10 minutes left in the movie. And yes, again, a movie that's been on my watch list forever. I'm surprised Blake has not written this down. It's a number 1.
I'm waiting for you to confirm this number before.
I am okay. We have omissions, and we can talk about them after that, and that's what I love about doing this. But yes, I am perfectly fine with Let the Right One In at number 1. Again, you said this, Andy. It's a beautiful movie, what I really love, again, and we've thought, especially with our last 4 movies that we have on here, is what monsters and the supernatural can represent. And in this case, it has the coming of age aspect, which really works with both her as she is a vampire, and then this young boy as well who has no friends. I've been in that situation. I feel like many of us who are movie fans have been in that situation at some point where you're a little bit the outsider, you're the one that gets picked on, you have no friends, and then now you find a friend Turns out she's a vampire, and the way
and they're just as big of an outsider as you are.
Yeah, and the way he accepts that and understands. There's one line in this movie where she crawls into she enters his bedroom at night, and she said, "Don't look at me." And she gets in, she's completely naked, and she's just shivering cold. And he's like, "Oh man, you're really cold." And she's like, "Does that bother you?" "Well, no." And then later he's like, "Do you want to go steady?" And she's like, "What does that mean?" And he's like, "Well, boyfriend, girlfriend." And she's like, "Well, I'm not a girl." And he's like, "Well, still, do you want to go steady?" And I think I'm like, that's in 2008. I think that was really progressive for a child this at 12 years old or whatever, however old these kids are. That's a really powerful thing to say. Like, it doesn't matter what she is or who she is. He developed this bond and friendship and love for this girl just because he loved her, and that's all that mattered to this little boy who did not have that in his life. And yes, there are so many fantastic shots. There's the shot at the end in the swimming pool where you just see the legs just dragging across towards like a foot down in the pool. I'm like, oh, I love how that's revealed in that final sequence. And yes, I love this movie. I am glad I finally got to watch it, and I'm glad it is at the number one.
Yeah. Wow. Hey, it's like we collaborated to make a fantastic list.
It's a great list.
It's a very good list.
It's a very good list.
Yes.
I'd argue it's maybe the top 3 lists we've made on this show.
It is no slashers with no sequels, but no, I love this list. Again, Martyrs is the only one I have not seen on it, and it is one I've been just like itching to watch for a very long time. And
well, I will get that to you soon so that you can watch Martyrs.
You'll have your mind blown.
Good.
Yep.
I hope so. Anyways.
Yeah. There'll be I get a text message somewhere down the road. Stab.
Let's redo this. No.
I'm gonna read the list really quick, and then I want you guys to talk about some movies that you regret not playing.
We need to.
Number 8 was Train to Busan. Number 7 was The Human Centipede. Number 6 was Ju-on the Grudge. Number 5 was Martyrs. Number 4, A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. Number 3, The Devil's Backbone. And number 2 was The Babadook. And number 1 is Let the Right One In.
Tremendous list.
Andy, what are some movies that you wrote down and you regret not being able to get up here?
So honestly, there's really only one movie that I regret not putting on the list, and that is from Spain, Rec. I really feel bad that I didn't get to include Rec. I think Rec is a great found footage zombie movie. It's a wonderful movie. If I would have played a little bit more seriously there in that 7th slot, The Human Centipede can go if Rec makes the list. But I'm not ashamed for having Human
honestly,
Centipede.
Any Rec has made a few lists.
It has made
already,
a lot
so
of lists.
It's not sorely missed here. So.
Okay, so let's talk about this. I watched it finally.
Oh, you did?
I have watched Rec. We got to get into this though, but I rented it on Vudu, and the only version that is on Vudu is an English dub, and I did not know that. No. And that took me so far out of this movie, I didn't like it. And I don't blame the movie for that. That was completely on it being a bad English dub.
You gotta watch.
I need to rewatch it.
Do you own this, Andy?
No, I don't. I think was it Arrow? I think Arrow released like a collector's pack of like all of the movies, and I didn't have the money at the time to get that. So
have you seen Rec 2?
No, I haven't seen any of them outside of the first one.
Rec, for my money, Rec 2 is as good as the first one.
Awesome.
I am planning on watching Rec 2 very soon. The last 10 minutes of Rec is tremendous. I loved it.
Yeah.
I think that was some of the most genuinely terrifying moments I've ever had watching it. Was that last 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's great.
Yes. Yeah. I don't have the same love Blake has for it. And I think you reciprocate that to my Blair Witch love. In that you're a Rec guy, I'm the Blair Witch guy. I feel you like the Blair Witch.
I do,
project.
yeah.
I like Rec.
Well, I've been thinking of doing like a Rec double feature night and inviting people over. I think I'm going to do that at some point because I really want people to experience.
I need to rewatch it because
back to back. It's one big roller coaster ride. So.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's a great pick, Andy.
Yeah, Wreck would have been one that I'm ashamed I wish I would have had a chance to put on the list. The other three that I didn't write down for competition that I kind of want to acknowledge, if I were to go with something else along the same vein of Human Centipede, I did actually have for a little while a Serbian film on there.
I thought about that earlier.
Yeah, because that is brutality and the horror of human existence, if anything else. I had Knife Plus Heart, which is a French film that came out over the last couple of years. That is,
I need to watch that.
I haven't watched it yet either.
Yeah, it's a real throwback
to. We brought it here to Sioux Falls.
Oh wow! Yeah, it's a really good stylistically. It's a lot like a giallo film. And it's also really a strong part of like queer cinema. So I think it's super important. It's not one that I love, but I think it's one that needs to be acknowledged and kind of certainly praised. But for me, the French horror films are really difficult to kind of, because there's a lot there. And then just because I was afraid that somebody was going to play Pontypool because I don't like that movie, I went with another Canadian film.
I don't think Andy is going to come back on this show.
Ginger Snaps.
You don't like Pontypool, Andy?
No, I don't. And maybe I need to see it again. But
my God, it is one of my favorite horror movies. I
haven't watched it yet. I should watch it. Yeah.
I think that's one of the Stephen McHattie, and that is one of the great horror performances. But
yeah.
All right, Ginger Snaps is a good one.
Yeah, I had that as another one too. It's Canadian, so I mean it's barely foreign, but
Canadian and UK. Do we need to have them on here?
I would have called the judges vote on a Canadian movie just because I've been to Canada. There's like no difference between Canada and the US.
And then I don't know why I didn't write this one down. I also had, but I think it's more of a comedy, so that's why, of course, I didn't put it down. But I did have New Zealand's What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, all right.
So
I will piggyback off that with a comedy I had written down, One Cut of the Dead. I was debating between that and Train to Busan.
Good movie.
Yeah.
Train to Busan is more of a horror film, so that's why.
Yeah. That's also a Japanese movie.
What's that? Is it?
Yep.
Oh yeah, One Cut of the Dead is Japanese.
Yeah, but I was debating at the number 8. What I was going to
play. Okay, you wrote South Korea on there then.
Oh, I did. We played Let the Right One In. I let Andy choose the French one. I had written down Raw.
Oh yeah.
Oh, is Raw a Belgian movie?
It is like a French it had like 3 countries.
Yeah.
So
I
wrote down France because
I don't think I would have argued if you'd played France.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a
yeah.
Again,
that one didn't sit well with me either, but
it shouldn't.
I need to watch it again.
Yeah. Goodnight Mommy was my pick from Germany for if we were going to have something from there. I
haven't seen that one yet.
It's a unsettling movie.
That's what I hear.
Yeah. And then I think the big one I have written down that we didn't get to, and the one I was talking about when Andy played his number 3, the Devil's Backbone. I like Pan's Labyrinth more. That's the one I resonate more with, and again, it had Spain and Mexico attached to it, so I'm like, oh, is Andy going to play this at number 1? I'm going to get 2 Del Toros on here.
Yeah.
It didn't make the list, but we got Del Toro on it, so I'm fine with that. But
which country was it up for the Oscars when it was?
Ooh, I don't know.
That's a great question.
Good
I don't
trivia
know.
question.
I also would have preferred that over Devil's Backbone, but
really,
yeah, I think Pan's Labyrinth is a great movie.
That is probably my personal favorite Del Toro movie.
And I'm right there with you. I think for me, I consider, and this is coming from someone who really likes to stretch what horror means. I feel like Pan's Labyrinth is more of a fantasy movie than a horror movie. But yeah, if it would have fallen in with more horror for me, I probably would have played Pan's Labyrinth instead of Devil's Backbone. I do love it more.
Yeah, I think any Del Toro movie can fall into the horror category just because of who he is. I don't find Devil's Backbone or Pan's Labyrinth scary, but I would say they are both in the horror genre.
They're both incredible movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to just one more shout out, just because we haven't talked about the country. I just want to throw out what I had from. This is from Indonesia. Is Satan's Slaves?
I heard this is really good.
It is really scary. It's really good. I was debating if I was going to play it in top 8, but again, if you want a good late night, just scary 90 minutes, this is
on Shudder too,
yes.
right? Oh,
Yep.
It is. Yeah.
It's a ton of fun.
Do you have any movies that you wanted to watch for this that you didn't get to? Because I have a list of those.
Let's hear some of those. We mentioned a couple of them already. Inside and Martyrs.
Yeah. So I wanted to watch Pulse, the Japanese horror film.
I was hoping that would come up because that movie is incredible.
Yeah, I almost watched that today, but because Inside was shorter, I had more time to watch that one. Yeah. I wanted to see, this was recommended to me, the German body horror film Carcinoma. I wanted to watch that. I hear it is shocking. I had Trauma, which I believe is from Brazil. Then I had Dumplings, which is from China. And The Loved Ones, which is another Australian movie, but
I think that's one that Jameson really likes a lot.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one yet.
I have not either.
Dumplings would be a great pick. I really enjoyed that one. I think is that a Takeshi Kitano, or is it Miki that did that one?
I don't recall. Let me see, because I just looked it up a little bit.
Yeah, those are all really good. I haven't heard the German movie though. I haven't heard of that one yet.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Andy.
Fruit Chan is the director's name of Dumplings. So.
Who am I thinking of? I think he did Imprint, because Dumplings was a short for
The Three Extremes.
Extremes, right?
Yeah.
I thought Mike did a movie for that, but I could be wrong. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, there's a ton of stuff to see in this,
and this is a very wide genre to take on. 20 years of foreign films it's a lot of movies.
Imagine if you did
all time.
Time.
Right.
Yeah, that
would have been a bad idea.
Yeah,
it's a super draft there.
There's too much to watch there.
Yeah.
Well, this is a lot of fun. We'll just wrap this up now. Andy, do you want to plug anything while you're here? Any special shows that you might have coming up?
Well, it just so happens that this week on Tuesday, first off, let me do my spiel. You can find all things Fat Dude Digs Flicks on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Anything there, I'm reviewing whatever movies I watch, random movie news, and I have links to the podcast, which there are 2 shows on the Fat Dude Digs Flicks network, much like there are multiple shows on the Backlot 605 network. One of them is the Let's Talk About series, where I interview someone I find interesting and entertaining, and we talk about a movie that has had an impact on their life. On Tuesday, my episode will be with Jack Kruger Jr. He is a professional wrestler for Midwest All-Pro Wrestling and also an employee for Cinemark Movie Theaters. And we talk about the 1999 Kevin Smith comedy classic, Dogma. So we had a lot of fun talking with Jack on that one, so that'll be a good episode. And then this week, I am recording an episode with one of the Killer Countdown co-hosts for the Criterion Break with Andy and Blake.
Gee, who is
I'm glad I could join you for this one, Andy. I'm glad you asked me to join.
So here's the thing, though. So this is the Criterion Break with Andy and Blake, but this episode is fully inspired by a Casey Kelderman text message.
Not just one episode. We're doing 2 episodes.
2 episodes.
We're doing 10 movies each that we think people who are not well versed in Criterion and maybe are like intimidated, that we can be like, all right, maybe this is a good gateway to jump, or get some good gateway movies to jump into. And so it was sort of like, maybe we should just do 2 each, and then became 3 each, then became like, well, let's both do top 5, and then it became like, well, I have 20 movies written down, and then we're just like, maybe we should just do 2 episodes, and then so we're both going to do 5 movies each per episode, and we kind of have it worked out where we just got to be on each other with time, with time spent per movie. But my list is done, so I'm pretty stoked to do this.
Yep, I have my list as well. It will be fun to talk about. And I think we decided that we've got to come up with some backups just in case somebody else mentions one of the filmmakers that we.
I'm okay with multiple filmmakers.
Oh, well then, hey, cool. Yeah, I'm really excited for this. I think this is going to be a good way to get people who listen to the podcast or interested in the podcast, kind of give them a good jumping off point as far as the Criterion titles are concerned.
Yeah.
But you can find that podcast anywhere where podcasts are found: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, or just straight on Buzzsprout. Yeah, that's me.
What about you, Casey?
I got nothing.
You got nothing? Casey
no.
doesn't do anything.
No. I mean, for what we have going on in Backlot, I would say please go check out our interview with the Sioux Falls State Theater. It was a fantastic interview. We got a full tour of the place. We got to go up in the projection booth. We got to see the old school 35 projector that's up there. And we gotta have a great interview with Steven and Allison over there, and that was fun.
They're pretty cool people.
Yes, and they got to talk, and it felt like they were excited to finally talk about programming there, because it's all been about the construction of the theater, and now they got to talk about what movies are going to play. Like, for us, the most important thing about it, what's going to be on the big screen.
Right.
And I was so glad we got to finally talk about that.
Yeah, they were pretty gracious to come out on a holiday weekend to do that, and Allison was pretty jacked for that. She was super excited to talk to us. So really, really nice girl. If you want to find out what was probably be playing at the State Theater, we get some good answers in that. So
stuff I've not heard from anyone else yet. So we got the inside scoop.
We did, and the inside scoop's now your scoop. Yeah. So
right. Yeah, and I think what's really cool about those two kind of being the brains behind that operation, and I think you find that in that interview you guys gave or had with them, is that they are super excited about movies and really ready to bring this to this community. So
there were a few times where Allison's like, I don't think I'm as a big movie as you guys are, but like you could tell she still was excited to see certain movies. I think for her, if it was musicals that she was excited to kind of program, and so it's just super cool to see people who are excited to just not be slaves to the studio systems. So I'm excited to see what they show.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's it, boys.
Yeah. You want to get the backlot plugs?
Yeah, man. So just like Andy and his Fat Dude sites, you can find Backlot on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all those cool social media programs. You can find all of our podcasts, including this one, the main show, and our interview with the state on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. We're out everywhere. We're on
any site. Pretty much.
You can find us on YouTube as well. This is a lot of fun, guys. That one
was a lot of fun.
That went way more copacetic than I thought it was going to.
Me too. I really thought Casey was going to bring the pain.
No. I was all talk, and I was expecting us to be pretty fair.
I was just going to say, I think we now know that Casey's just all talk.
All talk. No, but I feel like we delivered with the list.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
All talk just for my amusement. That's all it was.
Yep. We'll be back in 2 weeks with a news episode.
Yes.
And we have a special guest. We have local. What would you call him? I call him a Renaissance man.
Yeah.
He does improv. He writes reviews. He writes short stories. We're getting Sam Lenz on our show. We're excited to talk to him. He's a big horror buff. Super excited to just sit down and talk horror and horror news with him and get to know him a little bit more. And
and then next month, our next Killer Countdown, we will have two of the boys from the Attack of the Killer podcast. I'm very excited to have them on because they get to talk horror every week. And I'm glad that they're finally going to come on. They're going to be doing horror scores. Boy, that's a quite the big task to take on. Very
wow.
See what Tad and Jason come up with.
I better see 3 certain movies on this list.
There better be 2 from just one franchise.
All right. Well, until next time. Spook you later.